Okay, good evening. Welcome to the special meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. It is November 29th, 2018, and I will call the meeting to order. And at this time, if we would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Bogner will lead us in the pledge.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, roll call. Chair McNabb.
Present.
Vice Chair Reynolds. Here. Commissioner Bogner. Here. Commissioner Erickson.
Here.
And the record will reflect that Commissioner Ursulou is absent. Item 4, approval of the minutes of the October 25th, 2018 meeting of the PRC.
Does anybody have any amendments or changes to the minutes, or is there a motion on the floor?
I'll move to approve the minutes from last meeting, October 25th, 2018.
Second.
Call for the question.
The motion carries 4-0. Item 5, public comments.
To ensure fair and equal treatment of all who appear before the Parks and Recreation Commission and to expedite city business, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes during public comments. The 3-minute per speaker time may be extended for good cause by the chairperson or majority vote of the commission. Please fill out a speaker card and hand it to the secretary. State your name and the city which you reside for the record. And at this time, I will open public comments. Seeing no speakers, I will close public comments at this time and move on to commissioner comments.
Item 6, commissioner comments.
Commissioner Erickson, would you like to begin, please?
Sure. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you all being here tonight. Congratulate Commissioner, way down there on the end, Arliss Reynolds, for her win in the recent elections. Congratulations. I guess we're going to lose you, but you're on to other things. And apart from that, just really appreciated the time to visit my parks over the last month and put together this presentation. It's my first go-around at it, and I'm really excited to give some of my input on where I think we can go with some of these parks, and also get the input of the people here at the table tonight. So thank you.
Commissioner Bogner?
Thank you very much. I would also like to congratulate Vice Chair Reynolds on her selection for the City Council. I will make my other comments in regards to the parks during my park presentation. The only thing, if I can just take a personal moment, we experienced this week a young man at our school who took his own life on Monday. And it's been a really hard week for us teachers and students at my school. And I just want this to be a reminder to everybody during this holiday season that this isn't always a joyous time for everyone, and to be extra sensitive. It just was on my heart to express to keep an eye out for people who are especially in need emotionally during this time of year, and just to hold your loved ones close. I don't know. It's just been on my heart to say that, and to just love everybody, love your neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds.
Okay. Well, thank you. So this will be my last meeting with you all. I will be sad to leave you. I'm sure that I will miss you and miss meetings that end at 7:30 or 8. But I do, and maybe this actually builds Commissioner Bogner on of what you just shared with us. I do take, as I spent lots of time the past few months talking to residents in Costa Mesa, a lot of the discussion was about safety in the city, and a lot of the solutions we discussed were about community. And I do think that while, parks and recreation, we think of this as fun stuff, I do take very seriously the work that this team does as part of the solutions to improving safety and building community in the city. I do think a lot of the work that we've done together in the last 2 years, the work that you all will continue to do, are really important elements of some of the problem solving we'll be doing at all levels in the city. So you're not done with me yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming this evening. It's nice to have people joining us for the meeting. I will just mention that I read a very lengthy article just this morning on the rate of suicide in our nation, and so I think it is a public health emergency is termed nationally, and so I think it's important that as people that have the ability to speak out publicly about the awareness and the support mechanisms that the government can play a role in providing is very important. So thank you for sharing that. And I would also very much like to thank all of the city staff once again for performing very admirable and some fairly difficult transition periods with the former city mayor or city manager stepping down without any notice. And so I know that's put a larger burden than normal on some people. And I would just like to commend you on your leadership and your ability to adjust under such circumstances. And at this time, I will close commissioner comments. Thank you.
Item 7, consent calendar, no items. Presentation item 8A, Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries.
Welcome to you.
Thank you. And of the Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries. The reason I'm here tonight is to let you know about a project that we are working on that kind of intersects with Parks and Rec. We are interested in installing 4 Free Notes musical instruments in the cement/grass area in front of the Mesa Verde Library. We are going to install these, we hope to install these 4 instruments. I think you have them in there. Yeah, if you could just share those. These 4 were selected because they provide a range from bass through soprano. And so we feel like that'll give us a big variety of notes. It will also provide a makerspace for non-musicians and musicians alike to easily co-create and improvise musical experience. I have to tell you, I actually saw this installed in a very small community in Wisconsin, and it was in front of their little tiny one-room library, and I was there with my sister, and we were outside, and here were these instruments just open to the public for anybody to come up and play. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. And we actually were there by ourselves, but we could see these young kids off waiting for us to leave, I think, so they could come and play these instruments. And my sister and I were having a great time, but we left, and I could see these kids coming up, and they just had a blast. And the sound is kind of wind chimey, if you will. It's very nice, melodic sound. So then I brought this idea back to the Friends of the Library, and we got kind of excited about it. And so we had the representative come down to Mesa Verde, and he was showing us and demonstrating one of the instruments. And this mother with her little boy, who was, I think, coming to story hour, this little boy just walked up, and he was just standing there and watching these crazy adults playing this instrument. And we said, hey, would you like to try? Would you like to play this? And he kind of was shy, and we said, no, come on. And he walked up, and he just, you could just see how he felt getting to play this musical instrument. And his mom just was so excited. And we said, well, and we thought, how fabulous that a little 3 or 4 year old could play the same instrument and get so much enjoyment as the young man. Anyway, Tom Hatch suggested that we come and meet with you and just explain what we want to do. And we want to install these 4 musical instruments. I think you have a photo of them now. These instruments are both aurally pleasing and visually pleasing. They will be available daily, year-round. Playing music in the library system will be a community-building opportunity that encourages creativity, self-confidence, stress release, curiosity, and joy. The instruments are finely tuned with carefully chosen notes that invite easy improvisation with little musical skill. They are durable and low maintenance. They have been installed in climates throughout the United States. Once installed, the Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries will schedule an initial musical celebration at the site, introducing the musical possibilities for musicians and non-musicians of all ages. The instruments will provide a rich setting for continued programs planned jointly by the librarians and the Friends of the Library. The total cost of the project, well, I don't want to go into that yet. If we could see the video, that would be great. It's just 3 minutes long. It gives you a better idea of what they are.
Music is universally loved. That's what inspired Grammy Award-winning musician Richard Cook to create Free Notes, musical instruments anyone can play. Since they never need tuning and there are no wrong notes, musical success is assured. Designed to enliven any outdoor setting, from playgrounds to therapeutic gardens to children's museums and more, Free Notes invite people back again and again. Hi, I'm Donna Codd with Free Notes Harmony Park. I'd like to share with you our outdoor musical instruments concert quality sound from a variety of locations. People have been playing Free Notes in the city of Moab, Utah's Rotary Park for almost 20 years. Today, they have the largest collection of 19 instruments installed in the extreme elements of the desert, being played by thousands of visitors each year. You will also find them at the Community Center in Parker, Colorado, where in addition to providing hands-on public art, they are also used in a community music program. This installation invites people of all ages and abilities to come and play. Installed in every climate, in both public and private spaces, Free Notes can be found all over the world, from Europe to China to Main Street in Sedona, Arizona. Here, they combine sculptural beauty with amazing musical integrity. Greeting guests at the Visitor Center, Free Notes instruments provide a fun and memorable experience at a public performance led by Richard Cook. help build community and connect people with the outdoors. They are real musical instruments with clear, sophisticated tones. Engaging, interactive, universal instruments that everyone enjoys. Looking for a way to attract people to your outdoor space? Just add FreeNotes. How fun.
Thank you, Allison. So now about the cost, which the Friends are raising. The total cost is just over $20,000, and that includes the 4 instruments, tax, shipping, the sealant for weatherproofing and graffiti protection, and installation. We have, and also the Planning Commission application fee, which is $1,300, and the neighborhood canvassing fee, which is $250. We already have just over $10,000 through community donations. Ace Hardware has given us $1,256. The Cultural Arts Commission grant of $500. So we're just about halfway there. What we are hoping to get from you, I guess, is your thoughts, first of all, on the project, and any help you can give us as far as getting along in the process to get it approved through the city. And then we can really get into our money-raising campaign. So anyway, that's about it. I just, if you have questions about it, our original idea was to put it at the new library, but, you know, we were told you have to wait, you know, and I'm not the most patient person, so I said, well, we can't do it there yet, so let's do it at Mesa Verde, and so that's where we are. So if you have questions or any way I can give you more information.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stapleton. I would open it up to Commissioner questions and comments. Commissioner Erickson?
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I think it's a fantastic idea. You know, this group, you know, can provide feedback and perhaps questions and answers, and wish you the best throughout the process, because for my part alone, I think it's a really worthy thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Commissioner Bogner?
I think it looks great. I would love to have a yard where I could have those in my yard, so it's really cool. And I wish you the best of luck. I don't know if I have any words of wisdom for you at this moment. I'd have to kind of think about it. And yeah, I wish you all luck, and I will definitely think about your project and come forward with any more suggestions for you at a later date.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Reynolds, Vice Chair Reynolds.
Just one question. Are you aware of any other parks in Orange County that have these instruments?
When I called the company and asked them, they said there was a school, it's Pegasus School in Huntington Beach. So, of course, I charge over there, and they just have 2 small instruments on their kindergarten playground. That's what they have.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so I guess we would be the first. I've heard that Irvine is sort of in the process.
Okay, so we could get in a race with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can attest to.
Not that there's any competition.
I can attest to how irresistible these instruments are. I've when traveling abroad, and it's not uncommon to find some of the European parks that have these, and you can't walk by one without playing it. Chair McNabb and I might have recorded a video playing one of these instruments as well. And actually, my next door neighbors have a hanging organ, if you will, and we use that as their doorknob. So yeah, no, it's a fantastic kind of just insert into everyday life. And I hope we can make this work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, that was so lovely to see, and thank you for the presentation. We are huge music fans, and my family in particular. My daughter sang with the Southern California Children's Chorus for many years, and it just makes me wonder if perhaps you could ask some organizations for grant funding as well. I would think that perhaps the Pacific Symphony would consider giving you a donation, and perhaps the Southern California Children's Chorus would do some small donation as well. So I think we could brainstorm potentially on ways to continue to raise funds and look at donors, the donor class that would be interested in assisting in that way. I think the library has a lovely network of supporters, but the arts also do as well. So I think starting with, lovely to hear that the Cultural Arts Committee was able to contribute some funds for you as well. And I think they would probably have additional good ideas on who we could tap into to get this to fruition as quickly as possible.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We have written 2 other grants and are looking at other grants as well to write for. So
wonderful. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and we will look forward to it. I am very confident that this will be happening in the very near future.
Thank you.
Yes.
I hope so too.
Yes. Thank you for sharing with us. That was delightful.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Old business item 9A, Skate Park Extended Pilot Program Update.
Good evening, Chair McNabb, members of the Commission. The item before you is the second Commission requested follow-up to the original Skate Park Summer Pilot Report that was first provided to the Commission in June of 2018. As a refresher, at that meeting, staff presented the Commission with the details of an administratively delivered summer pilot program for extended hours of usage at the Costa Mesa Skate Park, which is located in Tewinkle Park. The details of the program are that it began on Monday, June 25th, and was scheduled to run originally until Monday, September 3rd. The summer pilot program totaled an additional 20 hours of facility availability per week, with the makeup being an additional 90 minutes in the morning, excluding Tuesdays, and an additional 60 minutes each evening. An additional 4 hours was also gained by reducing the regular Tuesday maintenance hours from a 3 p.m. facility opening to an 11 a.m. opening. During the initial period ending September 3rd, the pilot program at the Costa Mesa Skate Park ran well overall, with no major incidents to report that are associated with the extension of the hours. Throughout the course of the initial program, staff was scheduled on-site at the park sporadically to monitor usage, to gain a sense of additional ridership, and to get related participant information through surveys. This monitoring of riders showed that the increased morning hours were traditionally less regularly attended than the attendance during the extended evening hours. When staff brought this information back to the Commission in late August, the Commission requested that the program be extended through November of 2018 to assess if the return to the fall school year schedule would have any impact on the ridership. So staff since then has monitored the facility for usage, and there have been no dramatic results that have come from the return of school year. Morning ridership with youth fell slightly, with an average of 1 to 3 riders in the morning, as well as the small contingent of adults of 7 to 10 adults remained consistent. All feedback from all riders, regardless of age, was positive. During this time, staff also assessed if the end of daylight savings time had any impact to the ridership, and no change was seen with this as of early November. While there were no major participant usage issues to report during the initial or extended pilot program stages, there was a somewhat consistent issue that was run into with the daily monitoring by maintenance staff, which in some cases were unable to fully complete their work depending on the needs of the park based upon participants arriving at that 7:30 a.m. Opening. Staff believes that a potential option can be to extend the window additional 30 minutes towards 8 a.m. instead of 7:30 a.m. to potentially offset this issue. If the Commission is interested in recommending that these pilot program hours become seasonal or permanent, this may be a consideration for you to keep in mind. In speaking with public safety personnel, while there has not been a significant increase in the number of calls for service inside of the facility, there are still consistent items relating to smoking, vaping, consumption of alcohol, and sporadic drug use in the adjacent parking lot. Public safety staff continue to monitor and address these issues, but it's important to mention that any permanent increase to the facility hours may contribute to an increase in this type of unwanted activity. We also spoke with the tennis center operator, and there were no additional feedback that was negative came from them. With that being said, staff tonight is looking for the Commission to provide direction regarding the summer and the extended pilot program results. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Martin? Yes, Commissioner Erickson.
Thanks for the presentation. It seems that it's being utilized nicely, and I think it's great that especially the adult users can get in some skate time before work in the morning. My concern has kind of always been that maybe in the dead of winter here that there could be a safety concern with respect to wet concrete in the morning, and with those hours being open now, perhaps we'd have an issue. But given that it's gone well, and we really haven't seen an uptick in bad behavior or anything like that, I would suggest or ask whether or not we could just keep the hours as is, kind of with the proviso that if anything changes dramatically, we still have the freedom to roll back the hours. I guess in overall, I'm just pretty pleased with the way things are going so far. So is there any restriction on, letting it fly, so to speak, and then if we notice a distinct element of behavior that's not going to work out, to revisit this at any time? Or do we have to set a distinct timeline, like a 6-month or a 12-month timeline?
Commissioner Erickson, that's at the discretion of the Commission. I think the intent of a pilot program is to set a start and a finish. Okay. So from a staff standpoint, we'd like you to hopefully make a decision on ending the pilot program at least, and sure. The options are, as you mentioned, to make it permanent. You can always say, we'd like to revisit this in 1 year and review the statistics of if anything has changed from a public safety perspective, or from a complaint perspective from the tennis center, or from Park users, or from even residents who live adjacent to that portion of Wimbledon Park. That's up to the Commission. You can, again, go seasonally if the morning hours and the dew that makes us close the skate park because the bowls aren't safe becomes too much of an issue. We could also bring that back to the Commission as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, for my part, and I'll be quiet after this, I just think we should kind of end the pilot program and let's let it go for another 12 months unless something drastic changes. And I'll be quiet now.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Bogner?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. After some thought, one of my concerns about the potential for reducing the hours would be actual increase in negative activity in the parking lot adjacent, because there wouldn't be as many eyes. So although Jim's concern about the weather could potentially be a safety issue for riders in that regard, as far as neighbors' concerns about the negative activity in the parking lot, I wonder if there would actually be an increase in irresponsible activity in the parking lot because there's not more eyes there. So I'm inclined to agree with Commissioner Erickson and to end the pilot program but continue the hours as is and revisit it, see how it goes, with the caveat that if the administrative staff feels that it has been a problem, then the administrative staff has the right to close the park if need be, right? If they're for hours if there's negative impacts. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. That would be my recommendation.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Vice Chair Reynolds.
Thank you. I think I'm leaning the same direction. I've received a bit of feedback both when visiting the parks and through email and other conversations about excitement about the park hours opening. Still hearing folks that are just learning, like realizing that it's open in the morning and realizing that it's open late. The working people saying it's really nice to have a place to get a little skating in before work, and then enjoying having that location in the evening. I can't remember the name of an organization, but a couple people have mentioned an organization, I believe, in the city founded by Costa Mesa locals about kind of a skating organization as a pathway to help troubled youth. And some of the stats from the survey that stood out to me that I really liked were the really high percentages of Costa Mesa residents who are using the park, 86% and 70% for our teens and adults. 100% and 91% for teens and adults participating with their families and friends at the skate park. High percentages attending programs and events at the skate park. I don't know if we have stats on this, but I think a lot of people agree that it's one of the most highly used parks, maybe second only to Bark Park. Maybe a little competition there. And I think a lot of us recognize Costa Mesa as one of the skate capitals of the state, or maybe we can claim the world. So I think all of those reasons support, for me, keeping this park open and keeping our eye on things. And it's good to have eyes out there. I'll steal, since Commissioner Ursulou not here, a phrase that I think she used maybe in our first meeting: an active park is a safe park. And I think, again, the more people we have at the park participating in activities, kind of the safer we keep the park as a whole. So I would lean towards supporting the permanent continuation of the extended hours. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I would at this time like to open the item up to public comment. So if you would like to make comments on the skate park hours, please come to the podium. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. And I would like to see, an extension of the program with the caveat that we do revisit it in, I think 6 months would be good to get another basis of the hours. I think personally 7:30 seems very early for the park maintenance to have it open by. So, I'm willing to continue the program with the extended hours. But if we find that there's no one there at 7:30 on most days, I think that it would be fine to open it at 8. That's my personal opinion. So, does anyone want to make a motion?
I will move to end the pilot program and to maintain the park hours as is for now, with the caveat that admin has the right to close as needed for maintenance and revisit in 6 months as per your recommendation for further review.
I'll second. Call for the question.
Motion carries 4-0. New business item 10A, tree removal request 1067 Concord Street.
Hi there, welcome.
Thank you. We are residents of Costa Mesa, and we've been living in Costa Mesa for 3 years now, where we just went through a major renovation on our property. We are at the corner lot of the street, so we have 2 pine trees that are connected to our property. We just redid our concrete driveway and our concrete planters, and we've noticed that the roots are lifting up the driveway, and it's cracked our planters. I have photos. I'm not sure if they provided photos, but I do have more that show the initially how we had finished our walkway. It was flush to the sidewalk. Now it's about 1.5 inches to almost 2 inches as you're getting coming into our house, which is a trip hazard. we're just very concerned that it's going to continue causing further damage on our property, and we are asking if the city can remove these pine trees so it can stop the damage on our house, because we've invested so much time and money, and we want to be residents for a long time. I mean, we just had our son, and we are planning on hopefully retiring and, you know, making our house a home. So we're not planning on moving anytime soon, and we definitely want to protect our investment in our home. And we have nothing against the trees. We like nature. We love the trees. It's just our concern is our home, really, because we've been, you know, spending the last 2 years fixing it to, you know, making it our house, and now we're facing with this problem. So we're here to see if there's anything that can be done to.
Okay. What we'll do at this time is we will have a presentation by city staff that will give us the overview of the submission that you made, and then we can continue discussion after that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Vice Chair and Commissioners. First, let me congratulate Vice Chair Reynolds on her successful campaign. The first item we have to present this evening is a request to remove 2 trees located at 1067 Concord Street. The trees are located in the parkway on Pierce Street, adjacent to the property. These are mature Canary Island pine trees that are between 45 and 60 feet tall. They are planted in the city's right-of-way, which is a 5-foot right-of-way. The trees were last maintained in April and May, respectively. Canary Island pines are not currently on the city's problem tree species list. This is a picture of the trees from the north looking to the south. And this is a picture from the south looking to the north. City staff inspected the trees and found them to be in good health, and no visible infrastructure damage was done to any of the city's properties or to the adjacent block wall. We did not notice any cracking or anything. The curb line flow appeared to be normal, and it was not raised, as well as the sidewalk showed only minimal, insignificant lifting. It is the city staff's recommendation that the trees are healthy and that they remain as they are, and we do not see the nexus for any further damage.
Thank you very
and that
much.
would conclude it. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to make any further comments, or shall I open up to the? Okay.
The photos that were shown on the slideshow there don't really show the elevation of the actual sidewalk or the cracks on the street. The street was recently repaved, and there's clearly signs of cracks that it's lifting the street. It's a couple feet away, just as the same distance to our house, so you can clearly see that it's happening on our side too, since a tree has roots that expand. It's not only going to expand on one side, it's going to expand on both sides and all around the tree, I believe. So they did prune the trees, but on the report it said that further pruning would weaken the tree. So if the tree is weakened more, I feel like it also has been leaning towards one side. So my concern is if there is a safety hazard that, you know, if this is causing our driveway and our walkway towards our house, it's lifting the concrete, it's going to be a trip hazard. So I'm concerned that something will happen where it's going to cause someone to fall and trip over, and that's going to be a liability for us, which, you know, we just redid our concrete about a couple months ago, 6 months ago, and now it's lifted almost 2 inches. I have pictures that I can show you.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Are there any other public comments? Okay, close public comments at this time and open up to the commission comments. Does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Bogner?
Chair McNabb, thank you so much for your concern. I'm a little confused. Maybe I would actually like to see some of your pictures, because
sure.
This picture that you have of the crack, I think it's this one right here. Where is this?
That's a planner. So I was informed I can only provide 5 photos, and they allowed me to provide 6. So it was a little difficult to show all the photos, but I have it here where it shows where it's flushed and then where it's lifting.
Well, I see that, but where is it in relation to the trees? Because your driveway, according to these pictures that I see, is really far away from the trees, so I don't...
It's in front of our house. So that planner, I can show you. It's in front of our property.
Okay, so the planter is in front of your house, like
yeah,
your front door?
Yeah, that's
okay.
the crack.
So I'm having a hard time seeing how the trees, which are on the whole other side of your house, I don't understand how that can crack the planter that's by your front door. I'm having a hard time seeing how that can correlate.
Well, you can clearly see on the photo that it's being lifted. Something's lifting the concrete up. There's nothing else around the area that can cause this to lift.
It's also lifting the pavement on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where it's lifting up, and all the cracks, they're lifted. It's not like it's breaking away. It's lifted up.
Mm-hmm. But the tree's like over here, right?
But tree roots extend about 3 times the size of a tree. So if that tree is about 50 feet or 45 feet, that can easily extend even across our home.
So if I could ask one of the arborists, or if I could ask you, so if those roots were to be doing the damage that far away, would there be damage to this wall? Like, don't they go like this? Or does it?
Commissioner Wagner, yes, typically you'd see more damage closer to the tree. Typically tree roots don't cause the structural damage you're seeing. It's typically caused by soil settling, expanding and contracting. Is usually what causes the type of damage you're seeing in those photos right now.
So to clarify, what you're saying is that the damage to the structure that she showed is most likely from settling and not from the tree roots.
Correct.
Okay.
How is it lifting them? I don't understand how the street, you can clearly see where the roots are going away from the tree, and you see it lifted. There's like humps on the street, and they just
Sir, would you mind going to the microphone so we can capture your comments as part of the record? Thank you.
Yeah, on the street, you can actually see all the lines and the breaks on the street, and it was just recently repaved like 3 years ago, and you can clearly see it's going from the tree. So, and all those cracks, they're going up. They're not breaking away. It's cracking up. It's pushing up all the foundations and everything. And that wall right there was just recently done. That's the reason why there's no cracks. But you can see there's 2 walls that were done, 3 walls on the property. The 2 that joined together on that side are already breaking away to the side. So I mean,
any other commissioner comments? Vice Chair Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you. So I did this request was on our previous agenda, and so it was in October. I'm looking on my phone because I did come over to the property and walk around a bit and took some pictures. You described, I see the cracks, and I saw the cracks in the planters when I was there. Where was the tripping hazard? You talked about the sidewalk being elevated, because I'm looking at my pictures now, and I can't find the...
On the entrance, right on the entrance where those 2 pillars are on our entrance going
so
into our house.
Still around the corner from where the trees are, right?
Okay. But if you follow the cracks in the street, they're as far as if you would go the other direction towards our front entrance of our house. They're the same distance.
Right.
It's just the opposite direction.
And did this happen in the last month? Couple months.
Yeah.
So we did this in January. So this, we noticed that.
Oops, my phone died. So my pictures are gone because my phone died. One quick question. So I do remember that these same trees, so there's two that are adjacent to your property, but continuing down the street, there's the same trees, at least 2 or 3 more. I don't know if you recall that off the top of your head. Do you know if we've had requests or issues from other residents who have the same trees in front of their homes? Have we had requests or issues in the past related to these trees?
Vice Chair Reynolds, I don't have any knowledge of that, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Is that something that we, do we look at kind of history of requests on trees when we do get a tree removal request? Because you guys said you were here, moved 3 years ago into this, this lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know if there's, how old these trees are and if we've had previous issues with these trees?
In response to your question, there's these trees are about 15 to 20 years old, and there was no record of any other requests for issues or removals other than when the trees were young. There was one tree that was leaning. It was just needed to be restaked. I think that was in 2006. It was just blocking the sidewalk, and the stakes were readjusted, and the tree was straightened.
Okay, thank you.
It's still leaning, by the way, yeah.
Vice Chair Reynolds, Commission. And also in that area, you are correct, as there are other Canary Island pines along that street and some of the surrounding areas near Coolidge Elementary School. And the sidewalk maintenance history does not show significant grinding in the area of some of the trees of the same maturity, no more than in any other, actually possibly less than other neighborhoods in the city with other types of trees.
Yeah. So what's I think perplexing to myself, and it sounds like same with Commissioner Bogner, is that where the trees are, the ground was flat. It wasn't. We often see trees where the roots are kind of popping out of the side, or you see them, raising up within a few feet of the tree. And I didn't observe any of that with the tree here. And it is quite a walk to get around to the other side. You guys have a nice big property, and so when I came, I quickly found the trees, and it took me actually a while to figure out where the cracks were, and it's pretty far away. So given what some of our experts have shared on what typically causes some of the cracks that we're seeing, I'm sort of inclined to think that it's not related to the trees.
Well, would you think you guys would be able to provide us with some kind of letter saying that the trees are not the problem? Would you guys be able to do that for us?
I don't know if that's. Could you advise us on that?
Sure.
I know it's not practice.
In regards to the Commission's decision, if the Commission decides to deny the tree removal request, that essentially is the answer there, that you're saying that the tree is not the issue for the shared property damage. The applicant, as a reminder, does get to return to the Commission in 1 year's time to reapply for a tree removal. That's what the ordinance says, so that's important to consider as well.
So the process with these removal requests is that our staff will go and analyze the trees, and I'm not going to remember all the details, but there are several categories. If it's clear that the trees are a safety hazard or I think dead or dying, then staff has the discretion to decide to remove that tree. I think because they didn't find that there was a safety hazard here or kind of immediate need for removal, it becomes a discretionary decision that this commission makes. So,
I asked, they said that they didn't want to prune them. They don't want to prune them because they're already leaning to the side. That's what the letter said. They showed us. They're already leaning to the side, so they don't want to continue pruning. So, if what happens, you guys, can you go and prune them? Can you go prune them? And if they fall, I mean, that would be out of our hands, right? Because they're leaning to a different direction. If you guys say that there's no problems, we just
Madam
want
Chair.
to protect.
Yes, please.
If the Commission decides that the tree is not the nexus to the property damage, then the root prune does not need to be consideration that the commission needs to consider. I would leave it up to Mr. Ryan to say if in his professional opinion, a root prune would be something that would be effective, knowing that it's already been pruned on multiple sides. The city could run the risk of losing the tree at a $14,000 loss from the tree inventory.
And I believe it was just pruned in May, is what the report said. Is that correct? Or
April and May.
April.
They were trimmed in April and May. The pruning that they're referring to is root pruning.
Oh, the root pruning.
Root
Okay,
pruning, yeah.
trimmed. Okay, versus trimming. Okay. Commissioner Erickson, I believe you had some questions or comments.
Yeah, it was more of a clarification, which you just helped with, and if there was any scheduled root pruning, I couldn't figure that out.
So the city's tree maintenance contractor, West Coast Arborist, did go out there to examine the tree for the possibility of root pruning. When they examined the tree, it had already been pruned on 3 sides, so they would not prune on a 4th side.
But it stated that because of the trees were leaning to the side, right? They wouldn't recommend it.
Not due to a lean. Pine trees are known to have just a natural lean to them. It's due to the elimination of buttress roots and roots that would hold the tree in place. There's just a concern if doing it on the 4th side would destabilize the tree.
Commissioner Boner?
I think to answer your question, that whatever our decision is here tonight, it'll be a matter of public record, and it'll state the reasoning in the minutes. So if you needed that information for some reason for the future, it is on public record.
And it's saying that it's not causing none of our damage, right?
The arborists are the experts.
Okay.
We're not.
Yeah,
we're not
I
experts,
understand.
right?
Yeah, I understand.
And so our job, based on what you provide and what they tell us, is based on what we individually decide. And then from that decision, that'll be on public record for you to refer to in the future. And then, like Mr. Martin stated, that depending on our decision tonight, if it ends up that we deny the request, then in a year from now, if you see that there's further damage and you believe that it's due to the tree, then you can come back again.
So
that's how that works.
So a year. So what's going to happen is because it's all new, so I didn't want to get in there and dig everything up. But if you guys deny it, that's what I'm going to have to do. So after that, say I dig up and I find huge roots down in the bottom. What's my next step from there? I have to wait a year to see that damage is causing it if I follow the roots. They can do an administrative, like if you find that there is, yeah, because that's
that they're really, that it's something, they can come after the fact and they can do an administrative tree removal. Is that what you call it? If that were the case.
Commissioner Brogner, you are correct. If we found that
because that's the next step. Yeah, we're gonna.
It could be, then it would be deemed as the problem, and we could move forward with either a root pruning at that time, depending on the distance since the last root pruning, or a complete tree removal. Also, the resident does have the option of filing a claim at such time if there was some discovery that he managed to make and he found evidence.
Well, your home is very beautiful. You've done a really nice job on your remodel. I did get a chance to go over there yesterday and take a look, and I was very impressed. It's beautiful. And I did take the opportunity to share your photos with my neighbor, who is a general contractor who does a lot of work in all neighborhoods, and he looked at the cracks, and he did say to me, those aren't from the tree. Those are from the soil. That's the kind of soil we have here in Costa Mesa. So he said that the roots in trees like that generally are not going to go out any larger than twice the size of the canopy of the tree. And the canopy of the tree would not reach twice the canopy of the tree would not reach your front planters. So I have cracks in my planters too in my backyard. And we're looking at redoing them again now, too. But I think that the cracking in the planter issue is certainly, in my opinion, not the tree. But I think if there's no further discussion, we will close public comments. And
Chairman McNabb, Commissioners,
yes.
may I first would like to thank you for going through the proper channels and coming tonight and following through
thank you.
and rescheduling, and we appreciate that very, very much. I also do want to just kind of remind you that tree removals, you, as a resident, you are not allowed to remove a tree without the city's permission. But I do once again want to thank you for going through the proper channels. I know it can sometimes be an issue and time consuming, and I appreciate all the effort you guys did.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Erickson?
I'll move to deny the request.
Second. And call for the question.
The motion carries 4-0. New business item 10B.
And I always say, if I may just make one interjection, I always say, perhaps we'll see you in a year. I mean, we would certainly be willing to speak to you again at that time. Thank you very much for coming. You have a beautiful family. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
New business item 10B, Pinkley Park Playground Equipment Design and Surfacing Replacement.
Good evening once again, Commissioners. The next item we have to present is the Pinkley Park Playground Renovation Project. This project was approved by the City Council in the fiscal year 2018-19 Capital Improvement Project budget. The purpose of this report is to seek the Parks and Recreation's input and recommendation on the new playground equipment and rubberized surface. The playground was originally installed in 1995, and staff requested 4 designs from 2 companies using a Sourcewell contract through a National Joint Purchasing Alliance. The existing playground and equipment is still considered safe to play. However, it is evident in the following photos that the panels have faded, have noticeable deep scratches on the surface, and the equipment is worn. And there's a nice picture of how miscolored it has become. The paint is wearing off much of the steel and metal in the surfaces, and the rubberized surface has lost its pliability. Staff received 4 playground designs from 2 companies. All 4 playground designs meet ADA requirements and contain the required number of accessible playground components. Staff evaluated the 4 playground designs and felt that option 1 by Game Time best utilized the existing footprint. Staff also felt that option 1 provided the most shade that covered the majority of the playground equipment. As you can see in the rendering, this plan offers a diverse number of playground components, including 3 slides and a decorative butterfly as a climbing element. The estimated cost was $116,112.63, minus a $25,000, $238.06 incentive if purchased by December 31st, for a total price of $90,874.57. In this photo, you can see the slides. Oh, that was quick. There, back to that. You can see there's a small slide and a larger slide. So we feel that this really will accommodate a diverse age range of children. There you can see the butterfly. Okay. Option 2 has a similar number of play components. However, only 7 of the components are elevated, and the remaining 7 are smaller ground components. It has a smaller shade structure with multiple ground elements and several climbing elements. The cost of option 2. The cost of option 2 is $137,072.64. This also has a $25,000 incentive if purchased by December 31st, bringing it to a total cost of $111,164.73. There you see the ground components. It has more climbing components but less slides and significant structures for children to play on. Another view of option 2 and its small slide. Option 3 by Miracle Recreation costs just over $60,000, which is significantly less than the other options. However, the play elements included are much less significant and correspond with the lower cost. It is important to note that the rubberized surface that is included in option 3 is not depicted in the renderings, but would be there. And there's some of the ground components for option 3. And there was no incentive for option 3 or 4. Option 4 has a number of elevated play components and a number of ground level components. The total component number is 15. The roof is a more solid covered roof. It has rubberized surface, and this option provides minimal shade to the majority of the structure. The cost of this structure is $94,736.42. And there's a picture of option 4. It's a significant structure. As stated previously, $130,000 was approved by the City Council in the fiscal 2018-19 capital improvement budget for the replacement of the playground and rubberized surface at Pinkley Park. The option for go back one, please. The total cost for option 1 would be $116,112.63 less the savings, and the money that would be remaining would be used to transfer to another park project that is currently in design. Staff recommends the approval of option 1 from Game Time Recreation to replace the playground and rubberized surfacing at Pinkley Park. Option 1 serves as a more diverse age group than option 4. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much. I will open it up to Commissioner questions or comments. Commissioner Erickson?
I love option 1. You mentioned there's some money that'll be left over for something that's already in development. Just curious what that other thing was.
Well, we haven't confirmed exactly where the money is, but we have a project that we are identified that we would like to use the money toward. I mean, the money would be available to be transferred to another CIP project.
Great. Okay.
Commissioner Vice Chair Reynolds?
So I feel like I could do a good analysis of a Bark Park playground. I'm going to defer to some of my colleagues here on what's a great playground for children. I just have one question. The cheapest option is option 3, about $30,000 less than option 1. Can you just remind me again why? What is the upgrade that we're getting for the additional $30,000? Oh, here we go.
Vice Chair Reynolds, we just seen that for the more bang for your buck, option 1 provided quite a few play elements. It also included elements that would be able to include older children, whereas option 3 seemed a little bit limited to younger kids. Both options are supposed to be for 5 to 12-year-olds, but option 1 definitely had a more diverse group of elements that could go from 5 all the way up till 10 or 12.
Okay, thank you. Oh, just one more question. I'm curious on the, so we get an incentive to purchase quickly. I think it was by December 31st. What is the target for installation? And does this cost include installation, or is this just the equipment?
This cost is installation and complete rubberized surface as well.
Oh, great. Okay. And what is the expectation on timing from purchase to play?
Robert Ryan he's been discussing it with the designers and architects.
Mm-hmm. Just roughly, yeah.
Hopefully within 3 months.
I did notice on the quote, it says customer is responsible for offloading. I think that's strange. If they're going to install it and do everything else, but we're supposed to offload it, what is that about?
We take shipment of playground equipment at the city courtyard, and sometimes it comes in different pieces as they prepare it. They do not like to hold all the equipment, and so they will ship the slides and things, and we store them until everything has reached it and construction is ready to begin.
Okay. Thank you for that. Commissioner Bogner?
Yeah, I just have one question. Oops, sorry. What is the material of the awning, of the umbrella? The material?
So the materials, it's a soft shade cover, similar to what you'd see in other covers. Trying to think of where we have additional.
There is a shade structure currently at our aquatic center that we just put in. It uses the same as that. We're actually putting them in right behind this building currently today. We're installing shade structures right outside. So it's a sun deterrent. It pushes some of the reflection off, allows sunlight still to come through, and pushes the UV rays away from the user underneath.
And what's the lifespan of that type of material? Is it like a sunshade or sunsetter shade type of material? I don't.
Commissioner Bogner, they do fade over time, obviously, depending on the color that you pick, but 10 years at a minimum would be a useful expectation of the useful life.
Okay, great, thanks.
With no other questions, I will move to approve option 1.
Second.
Call for the question.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Item 11, Commissioner Park District reports.
Woohoo!
So, Madam Chair, if I can just quickly start for members of the public who are not familiar with the Commissioner Park District reports. Several years ago, the City Council had given the Parks and Recreation Commission some goals, and one of those goals was to do an annual park report. As you know, currently there are 5 park districts spread out between the different areas of the city. Each commissioner is assigned to a district. When previous Commissioner Chair Peterson left and Commissioner Erickson came in, he adopted Park District 1. And tonight is the annual report of those per the City Council's goals for the Commission.
We welcome Commissioner Erickson to his debut park report.
Well, go easy on me. I didn't know what was good, bad, or in between, but I had a lot of ideas, so I'll try and go fast. There's just a picture to kick things off. Next slide. Here's some bird's eye views of the parks that I have been keeping an eye on. So Civic Center, Jack Hammett, Ketchum-Leibold, Tewinkle, Wilson, Tanager, and Raleigh. And it really is a great, diverse representation of parks for what parks are. You know, you've got parks that have a lot of different activities, and you've got little pocket parks, and you've got parks that are really just a bench or two and some grass. And I think the city benefits from this diversity in a really nice way. So next slide. Starting with Jack Hammett, I've visited quite a few times this fall for some Pee Wee soccer. Excellent field conditions. I was really impressed after rains that we were playing on those fields. So great job. Yeah, great drainage. I mean, it rained really, really hard one night, and we're like, we just don't know if we can go out there and play, but it was open. So kudos to everyone who's working on that aspect. Concerns, better lighting management. So I visited each park at night, walked through some of them, and I'm not a photographer, but you can see that, barely see, that a game's being played on the closest field to us, but the rest of the fields are empty, and lights are on. And I looked at some lighting contracts that we signed a few years ago that included lighting controls. I don't know how well they're being utilized, but it would be the neighborly and the maintenance and energy savings thing to do, to take maybe a renewed look at that controls package and how well we're utilizing that contract. And then clear communication on Mudline. We called the Mudline, and it was October, but it had been updated in May, and this was after a rainstorm. So we weren't sure if, being that it had been updated in May, whether or not they maybe just forgot to update the Mudline after the rainstorm. So if there's some way to be clearer on that, that'd be super cool. Next slide. Okay, Tewinkle, just so many different uses here. Visit it during the day, visit it during the night, and a lot of just great options for people in the city. A long time ago, I played softball at night there. Just a lot to offer. So next slide, please. I've noticed a small stage that's kind of in the northern back 40 of the park, and I've gone to the arts committee, and I said, did you have any idea there's a stage here? And some people got really excited. And I think it'd be a neat place for, like an OCC chorale group or music fraternity. They have one there to stage things. So there's definitely opportunity for programming there, and I've kind of planted some seeds on that. So I'll certainly follow up with the Arts Committee and see if there's an appetite to actually put rubber to the road on something there. Thank you. On to Wilson Park, great neighborhood park, lots of options for kids and adults. I'm noticing we have sand volleyball courts, and it seems like they don't get used much. And so one idea I have is to try and highlight that. We have them in 7 different parks. There's a stream that you walk over, and I didn't know how well or if it was being maintained, how we put water in it or don't. And so that's an item kind of for follow-up that I'd love to learn more about. And then finally, I went there at night, and it's irregular in terms of how it's lit. You have different colors, some spots that are super dark, and then a concentration elsewhere. So keep going. Tanager, another great neighborhood park. Don't understand what the basketball court does with no posts and backboards, but I have some ideas. Pickleball and or a bicycle skills course, which I'd go through in a later slide. Next slide. Civic Center, really neat park. It's just a super nice, passive place to maybe have a picnic. The only amenity I could think of would be maybe some exercise stations to spread out around the park, or perhaps a Frisbee golf basket, which I'll get into in a few slides. Next slide. Ketchum-Leibold, another great pocket park. And I've been really interested in how we acquire land for parks like this. This is a 3-parcel park that was able to be built because we widened Victoria a number of years ago. And I feel that as we continue to redevelop the city and create more residential space, most of it is going to be higher than it is wide with backyards and big driveways. And so pocket and neighborhood parks are going to continue to be a really important aspect of the city. And the only concern I could really look at here is that every time I go, it seems like the trash can lids are kind of just crosswise a little bit or kind of knocked off. I don't know if there's a better or more elegant design for that trash can lid or funnel, if you will, but it's generally a little bit misplaced when I visit. Next slide. Another park, Raleigh Park here, that nice pocket park. Probably, I don't know how it was acquired, but it seems like a nice, easy thing to do in other pockets of the city, and I'm going to present one in a few slides. So, some big takeaways. Pretty much every park I go to, I'll see a dog off the leash. I don't, can't blame the dog. Lack of restrooms at some parks. I know that this can be politicized easy, but the one thing I've never heard a complaint about is a 2 to 5-year-old using the bushes, and I've seen that happen. I haven't seen a homeless person relieve themselves in the park, but I have seen potty training toddlers do it. So it's a human concern. It's not necessarily a homeless person concern or a big person concern. It is what it is, and especially if you're potty training a kid, it can be, you can look for bushes. So, some existing facilities are underutilized. Both Tanager and Wilson have that sand volleyball court. I think we could bring more nice, good, active people to the park if we publicize that a bit. Maybe took our indoor volleyball classes and advertised the fact that we had sand volleyball courts and maybe develop some programming around that. And finally, lighting. I know a bit about it. I've been in the industry for a while, and there's a lot we can do. So next slide. So I took some pictures at night. There are some standards out there that we could look into. The Dark Sky Association recommends a certain color that is very, very non-impactful to animals and humans. There's these things called pollution and trespass. So lighting pollution goes up in the air, and lighting trespass goes where it shouldn't. The photo on the left is Tewinkle. You can see in the foreground at the bathroom, we're putting light right where it needs to go. The walking path, the wall, but it's not really going up or out. And then the old high-pressure sodium light in the background is shining up on trees and kind of all over the place. And it gets a little more egregious at Tanager, where you can see we're doing a great job of lighting up the neighbor's garage. And so there's probably a path in place already at the city level to look at stuff like this, but I see it as something we could standardize, something we could kind of get behind, and there's a lot of cities doing it. Some local ones I listed below. So Next slide. Sand volleyball leagues bring more good people to the parks. We've got 7 sand volleyball courts, and I would just love to look at that in the future. Next slide. Disc golf. So I enjoy it. It's all over Orange County. It's in Huntington, Irvine, Tustin. In fact, it's even at a school in Tustin. They put a course around their playground. And it's a nice passive sport. You don't have to compete with someone else necessarily. You just get to walk and throw a Frisbee. Pretty inexpensive to implement. You could put a putting green at some of the smaller parks and then maybe a 3-hole course elsewhere. And this also came to the fore because I was at Estancia Park a year or so ago, and I saw a dad and his kid towing a portable disc golf thing, basket, around the park and just throwing at it different little holes to play. So I see there's a need. It might be a nice amenity. So keep going. So bicycle skills course, and immediately that abandoned basketball court came to mind at Tanager. This is a picture from Victoria Elementary about a month ago. We had a bike rodeo. And as I write, new residential development rarely includes quiet streets, big driveways where we learn to ride, so parks need to kind of fill in. And if we go to the next slide, here's some examples. You basically paint a course into some concrete, put maybe a monument sign up that talks about the rules of the road, and you let kids go at it. I've even seen this very parking lot really empty on the weekends. Why not put some on the east side of the parking lot, and kids can come and have a relatively safe place to learn to ride a bike. Bicycle races. Don't be scared. We've done it before at Fairview Park. I participated. It was a blast, and these are the pictures. So it was fun. It got people out of their chairs and on their bikes and enjoying the park. Next slide. It's a type of race called cyclocross. It doesn't require much at all. It works on any surface, from asphalt to grass to dirt to you name it. And when I was on the bike committee, we even explored it. And I worked with the organization that put on the race in Fairview, and we mapped out 2 routes using T-Winkle as an example. One, utilizing cooperation from the nearby school, and then another one just using the park. It could be one of those great community events. We already have quite a few when it comes to running and arts events and so on. And if we're going to champion a culture where cycling is accepted and celebrated, we might as well have a race that kids and adults can participate on. So next slide. New parks. So Century Place. There's a land use kind of change underway over there. There's a building that wants to be repurposed. There's an official city notice. And then there's this funny easement right next to it. And I saw another rally park there. So I would love it if maybe someone could look into the repurposing plan. They're going to change this manufacturing space into like a co-working space, some office space. And with this kind of long, narrow, weird easement next to it, why not put a pocket park where everyone in the nearby businesses can eat lunch? It's long and narrow. Maybe it'd be a good place for a bocce ball court. Who knows? But it could be easy. And then, go ahead. New parks. So Neighborhood Park, the southwest corner of the city is experiencing a lot of redevelopment. 17th is a good example. So as you go down 17th, you see Playport Mobile Home on your left if you're going west. And if you're going east, you see a parcel for sale. And I just thought I'd throw it out there. There's a lot of cool stuff going on the west side. There's a lot of skate surf culture. Perhaps it'd be a cool place for another skate park. I don't know. And then, that's basically it. My time's up. No, I was going to mention, too, there's another easement at the very end of Whittier, not Monrovia, so forgive me on that. But a new development there at Whittier and Hampton, those 3-story things, with what looks like an easement to the west of it. And, again, that's what I observed. So thanks.
Well done. Thank you very much. When was the bike race that you participated in?
It was 2010 or 2011. I could go back and check. It was before kids, for sure.
Yes, I bet. Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Great. Okay, Park District 2 is my park district, and I believe we start with Estancia Park. It is a 7.3 or 2.73 park with a playground and picnic area, large mature shade trees, meandering walkways near Adams School, and it is a well-used neighborhood park for families with small children, people walking their dogs, and neighbors looking for a quiet open space. You can see some of the photos of Estancia Park. It does, all the shade is really so lovely at this park. And also when I was just there earlier in the week, there were butterflies there, and also at Mesa Verde Park. So it was really a really good day in the parks. And the playground at this park is well used. There's lots of cute kids that really enjoy that structure. So, and it's just recently been resurfaced for the kids, the rubberized surface. Next slide, please. Estancia Park is a little bit larger park, 9.9 acres, which is home to the Diego Sepulveda Adobe. And we will be dedicating a new plaque, a historical plaque, on January 12th. So I would like to invite the public to that at 10 a.m. We will be doing the unveiling and dedication of the countywide historic plaque. So it's very interesting historically to visit and go inside the Adobe. So I recommend that to anyone. Nice to have restroom facilities at Estancia Park. Nice new bike rack. The picnic area is taken advantage of by many families. It is the location of Camp Costa Mesa in the summer, so it's highly, highly used then. Lots of birds that reside there, and does get lovely ocean breezes because it is on just the other side of the street from Fairview Park, so that's nice open space. Next slide, please. Oh, here's some of the photos. We do have quite a lot of monuments there and recognition plaques. And there's some, the variety of trees at Estancia Park is really very interesting. That's great. Oh, I think back one. Smallwood Park is 3.4 acres, has 2 different playgrounds that have just been updated. The restrooms there have been always very well maintained. It has the softball, baseball diamond for recreation for teams. And the basketball court is also well used by, I think, the youth predominantly. Very well used neighborhood park and a great location for birthday parties. And recently has privacy screens that were added for neighborhood privacy. And yeah, this park is one of my favorites. My daughter played here all the time when she was little, so I do love this park very much, and so many friends live nearby, so it's a great location. Next slide is Moon Park, smallish park at 1.67 acres, but it does have 2 playgrounds, which is really nice. So there's one for small kids, the 2 to 5-year-olds, and one for larger 5 to 12-year-olds, 3 picnic tables, drinking fountain, giant gorgeous trees, and access to the river trail. So it's nice to see so many bikers like to park at Moon Park and just bike to the ocean and up the river trail. So it is a nice access point for that. And always, you know, the moon surface is fun for the kids to see, inspired by the 1969 moon landing. Next, oh, here's some of the photos. There's some really lovely flowers at Moon Park, and the moon craters are really fun. So, Suburbia Park is my petite park, half an acre, small but good for dog walking and quiet reflection. It does have many, many large trees, so it's great with shade. It's very peaceful, and then it does, though, have also a gate access to the river trail, which I think no one knows about. So it is something I think that is rarely used. But anyway, Suburbia is a sweet little park. And had some cool mushrooms and flowers, and just love all the trees there. So it's a good one. And then next, just throughout the year, it was wonderful to have Commissioner Erickson join us and his adorable family. So we're so glad to have you with us. Next slide. Here we are being goofuses as usual after every meeting. I didn't do all 10 meetings, but maybe next year I'll be more ambitious and get every meeting in it. We do have our Santa hats for the post-meeting photo this evening, so get ready for that. Next slide. I would like to congratulate Commissioner Reynolds and wish her luck on the City Council. We've had a lot of good times on the commission together in the last 2 years, and I certainly will miss you, but I will clearly be watching you on the council, and so thrilled that you will continue to serve the city, and I love to watch the way you think and the way you process and the hard work you do. So you're going to be amazing. Thank you. As always, I just really appreciate our city staff. They're so dedicated, hardworking, and fun to be around, and willing to help in all ways, and very committed to our community in the city of Costa Mesa. So you've made it a wonderful year, and I thank you for everything you do for us and the city. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.
I believe next up, Chair McNabb, you're going to do the District 5. Maybe at the end you're going to do the District 5. Next up we'll have Commissioner Bogner doing the District 3, correct? Yes. Okay.
So, thank you guys. I'm going to be doing a voiceover of my thing. So this is Brentwood Park. It's at 265 East Brentwood Place. And as you can see, this is a very large neighborhood park. It's very highly utilized. We have very active members of the community who have a lot of passion for this park. This particular day, there were 2 families enjoying the park. It's funny because I said no dogs off the leashes because from where I was, I couldn't see them. But as I was putting together the video, you can see in the upper middle section, we will see a dog off the leash running towards the foreground. But anyways, it is a constant challenge. Anyways, this park is very well maintained. The residents are very highly engaged and have a lot of ownership of this particular park. I do communicate probably every few days with a resident who is extremely concerned about the dogs off the leash issue. And I'm not going to exaggerate and say probably 40 to 50 emails from him over the last couple of years about this concern. So that's something we need to visit, continue to revisit. There's one shelter at this park with 2 tables and benches. There is a volleyball court, of which, again, like Commissioner Erickson expressed, I have never seen anyone use it. It may be because that's not necessarily a pastime that our Costa Mesans particularly are using these days. Maybe a lot of people go to the beach, I'm not sure. This is Harper Park at 425 East 18th Street. As you can see, it is also very, very widely used. You can see the dog off the leash right there. It is an extreme frustration that everybody is feeling. So, yeah. You can see the family enjoying the play area. It is a very highly used park as well. There are often a lot of people playing soccer on that field in organized soccer games. Every time I've been to this park, I've seen people here actually at almost all the parks. There is nice playground equipment, and there is usually sand in the drinking fountain there. I know that that has been a maintenance issue, so I didn't quite get a picture of that this time, but there you go. This is Heller Park. This is another very highly used park. This particular park does have restrooms. There are swings. There's a tire swing. Again, very heavy neighborhood use, adults. What's really interesting about the visits to the parks is there were mostly dads with the kids. And I don't know if this is like a sexist statement or whatever, but it was, if you can see in the videos, it's almost all dads. The grounds and the equipment are in very good condition. Again, there were some concerns from residents about dogs being constantly off leashes. And then there have been some transient concerns from residents about transients in the restrooms here and at the park at night. So that has been a little bit of an issue. But the restrooms are in good condition and the amenities are being well maintained. I am not the drone pilot. No, I will give credit to my niece. I did make the video though. This is Jordan Park at 2141 Tustin Avenue. As you can see, also very highly used. The equipment is in good condition yet faded. As I know that we can't have all new equipment all the time, but you can see the sun fading on the equipment. There also seems to be some kind of a mark on the awning, the green awning. I wasn't quite sure if it was tagging or if it was, I'm not sure. She I don't know, some kind of a marker. I'm not sure if that's just a shadow. But yeah, so this is a very nice park. It's a pretty big park. And again, very widely used and enjoyed. The 2 times that I've been there, there have been birthday parties there, so that seems to be, widely used for that. Again, heavy use. Beautiful park, neighborhood park. I believe that the Boys and Girls Club will allow for usage of their restrooms if somebody needs it, if they're open. So like it says, it's shared with the Boys and Girls Club and the Sunshine Co-op Preschool, and the grounds are well maintained. This is Lindbergh Park, 220 East 23rd Street. And this park isn't as heavily used as some of the other ones in my experience. It seems to be, there's usually only about maybe 1 person there. It's not as heavily used as the other parks that I have. The equipment seems to be in good condition. There are large grass areas. Every time I've been there, there have been dogs off the leashes, except for this particular time. There are my kids right there, my adult children, by the way, and my niece and her boyfriend who are doing the filming here for us. It's adjacent to the school parking, and yeah, very nice park. And then this is Pinkley Park. You can see that new or relatively new shade structure. It's beautiful. It's a nice little walk. This is not as widely used as some of my other parks as well, but I don't understand, because this is just such a great park. I love going there. It's a nice round walk, and then walking straight into that playground structure area where we just learned tonight that there will be a new structure. The equipment is in good condition, but obviously it's faded and dated, and so it will be exciting to get a new play structure there. I want to say that there was a crack in that slide last year, if I remember, and that was repaired, right? And I also believe the rubberized surface is in need of some love. But there's big grass area, and there, like I said, there's usually a lot of dogs off their leashes with those throwing ball things, but not this time. So, and that pretty much completes my presentation of my parks. In my park district, there is only one park with restroom facilities. I have not, in my 2 years of being on the commission, had any request from any resident to add a restroom to the parks. And I'm not sure why that is. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that only 9 of our 30 parks have restrooms. Is that right? Have restrooms open? I believe it's 9. I think it used to be 11. It was 11 out of the 30, if I remember correctly. I understand it's a concern, and I too, as you can see, I had little kids. It's not always convenient to not have restroom facilities everywhere we go. But I would say that yes, it would be wonderful if we could have a restroom at every single park and every place that we take our kids, and that is just I don't know if that's financially feasible. But what I do know is that that some of the parks that do have restrooms don't seem to have the particular negative impacts, and that's wonderful. And I'm glad that the restrooms that are currently open at the parks don't seem to be having negative experiences, or at least I haven't heard many, and I think that's great. So for whatever reasons those are, it would be interesting to find out what at those particular parks where they do not have negative impacts from transients and criminals in those restrooms, why that is. So so that the other parks that are having the we're having the problems that were closed, why that is. So there's got to be some reasons. And then I think it's also interesting to me that we do not have an outcry or an uproar from residents wanting to spend the money to put restrooms in. When I have spoken to residents about that, especially at Brentwood Park, they said, we don't want any restrooms there because we don't want any problems. And there's no parking. Well, there is street parking, but the residents live close by. So to the neighborhood parks, like for example, with Commissioner Erickson's concern with Wilson, there's no parking. So it's not a park that you would drive to. It's just a pocket, a large pocket neighborhood park, but there's no parking there. Similarly with the volleyball court, there's no parking. So it's not a place where people would drive to for a game, just like I think the same thing with, was it Brentwood Park that had the underutilized volleyball park. So one consideration that we may want to think about is maybe removing the volleyball courts if they're not being utilized and replace those amenities with a more up-to-date amenity that is going to be utilized by our residents. Maybe try to do some kind of an outreach to residents about what they would prefer to be in that location if the volleyball courts aren't going to be utilized. It's just something to consider. And then as far as some of the ideas, I loved a lot of your ideas. Commissioner Erickson's ideas were great. I do believe that some of those ideas require permitting for groups to use those amenities if you have a group larger than 10. And I think that's also a concern is the permitting process, and also the staffing and the money required for some of that programming and some of those amenities. But I think those are all great ideas, and I look forward to implementing some new and cool things in our parks here in Costa Mesa. So thank you for your time. Can I say something really quick? I'm really sorry. I do want to give credit for the drone footage to my niece, Victoria Dunnigan. And she's very talented, and she's also actually done some work for the My Costa Mesa, and some work around here. So she's a very talented young girl. Thank you.
You good? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Those were fun videos. It was made me really appreciate all of the trees that we have in the city. That's a nice view. Okay. So these are the 6 parks in District 4, kind of the upper northeast quadrant of the city, and I think we're going to go north. We're going to start in the upper left and kind of go down, I think, to the right. So Wimbledon Park, 3.4 acres, sounds bigger than it looks. I like to start with this one because I feel like this is sort of the standard of what our park should look like in terms of maintenance and the mix of amenities. It really is a beautiful park, well used. I'll admit the first time I went there was on the commission, and I wasn't sure I was still in Costa Mesa. So this is a really beautiful park. Some of the things I love about it, easy parking on both sides of the park. There are multiple entrances, so you can kind of connect neighborhoods. There's a playground for little kids. There's exercise equipment for the adults. And there's a walking path that goes around almost the full perimeter of the park. If you go to the next slide. Oh, here's just some images. So large open space. There's the playground. There's actually a half basketball court there. And this is one of the only parks where I've seen picnic tables on the cement pads, which I thought was interesting and might be worth looking into in some other areas. Thanks. And you guys, some of you will remember this from last time. For every park I went to, I just kind of listed what amenities were there. I did add parking this time just to acknowledge that this is a park where the parking is very easy. The yellow highlights are the things that I thought would be worth investing in the park. So this park still, it does serve the immediate neighborhood, but I noticed that there aren't bike racks, and I thought that would be helpful. There are families that come play at the park. It does have a drinking fountain, but there was a little bit of mold. It seemed a little bit dated. And actually the picture of the swings, I don't know if the swings are, I know they're not sized for me, but I noticed that they're hanging a little bit low, so there's actually kind of like divots under the swings. I don't know if it's worth a look. Maybe raise the swing a few notches so kids aren't knocking their feet into the ground as they swing back and forth. Thank you. Next one. So my quick summary, not a lot to do here. I think this park's in really good shape. Never received a complaint about this park. When I ask, I really have to kind of pull ideas out of people. Just clean up the drinking fountain and consider getting bike racks at this park. Wakeham Park is not too far, also another beautiful park, has a lot of the same amenities that I think make Wimbledon really nice. There's multiple entrances, parking is very easy, it's surrounded by a community, there's walking paths through the park, not just out and back. If you go to the next slide, there's kind of a rock climbing area, there's a big beautiful open field, there's picnic shelters, and there's actually 2 playgrounds. I believe there's also a basketball court. We'll go to the next slide, look at the list of amenities. So this one is another park that's lacking a bike rack. I think it would benefit from that. There's lots of parking areas. I think it would be easy to add a bike rack. I think this would be a good one for exercise equipment too around the park, or some other sort of interactive, maybe adult-focused playground type equipment. So some of the pictures on the right do show some maintenance opportunities. The playground equipment is a little bit worn. Those stump pole things are all worn on the inside. I think they're meant to be climbed on, but they wouldn't even be comfortable to sit on. The lower right here, you'll see this is where, like we have in a lot of our parks, the picnic tables are just kind of sitting, and oftentimes they're on uneven ground. So that just kind of caught my eye, and although I'm not usually one to suggest cement in parks, it's, I do think that it would be nice to see the park benches on more stable surfaces, at least flatter areas in the park. I hadn't seen anyone using the picnic tables other than the ones under the shelter at these parks. And then the trash cans, I think I took that picture in particular because most of the trash cans in Wimbledon and Wakeham Park, what we're looking at now, had the nice covered trash cans. And this was one where it was just kind of the old tin can with a bag in it. So recommendations here, the basketball surface, there is a pretty nice big basketball surface. I have seen people playing there. It's got lots of cracks and dips in it. So I hear the rain behind me. There's probably going to be some water pooling there. I thought that the surface that existed didn't seem to be designed in a way that utilized all of the space. So if there was going to be a resurfacing project, there might be an opportunity to maximize use of that surface a little bit more. This park would certainly be a candidate for updated playground equipment. It is a high use area. Bike racks, considering other light recreation. I think pickleball is something getting popular now. But I was thinking even some of these tables that have a chessboard on it or something that's a little bit more interactive for the people who come to the park. And then considering some more platforms for picnic tables. Okay, Geisler. This is such an interesting park because it's huge, but it's tucked. It's really tough to get to. It's really out of the way, and I think because of that, it's a really underutilized park. If you go to the next, there's only two entrances. Sorry, we'll go back. I described this before, but there's only two entrances. One on the right is a tiny little walking entrance, but you have to walk up busy Fairview Road to get there. And the other one coming from the west is this like long road. So even though this park is adjacent to a big neighborhood, it's actually very difficult for the neighbors to get into it. Not an easy or obvious problem to solve, but I think one worth thinking about to make the park a little bit more active. Next slide, please. This one did get new surfacing and I think new playground equipment. The playground looked great. I was comparing it to the pictures from the previous presentation, and the playground looked really nice. There is a volleyball court here. Haven't seen anyone use it, but I have seen the trees get trimmed back. I know previously the trees were covering the whole thing, and I thought maybe that was the reason no one was using it. But this is another park that has a pretty expansive green area, nice walkways. I would love to see us try to bring this park to life, but I think because it's so difficult to get to, we have to be purposeful about it and think of ways to make this park a little bit more of a destination. The grassy area, I think, is not big enough to put a soccer field. I was thinking about that, but what can we do to whether it's programs at the park to bring people to the park? And I'd love to see us think of ways to just make recreational access to the park a little bit easier. Oops, there's the amenity. So there are some maintenance upgrade opportunities here. We still have some of the really old trash cans at this park. The barbecue equipment is not very appealing. I think this park would benefit from bike racks because it is a distance to get there, drinking fountains, benches, especially along the narrower walkway, some exercise equipment that might encourage people to get out there, and this one didn't have any doggy bags. We can skip that. Those are just pictures of the difficulty in getting there. So repeating myself a little bit here, but I think doggy bags and adding trash cans that actually do have covers are good, easy maintenance pieces. Bike racks, again, ways to improve accessibility to the park. And then trying to brainstorm, possibly talking to the neighborhood to get to see, what would get people to go use that park a little bit more often. It's rare to have a nice big space, but we've got to make it easy to get there. Okay, Paula Reno. I think this is the smallest of the parks I'm looking at. This is a really pretty park right next to Paula Reno School. It connects two neighborhoods, so there's an entrance on both the north and the south of the park. Next slide. And this park has the brand new, or about a year old, shelter, which was in really good shape, looked really great. It has a nice playground. This is pretty well used by neighbors who can walk to the park. Again, there's another one of the picnic benches. It's kind of, you can't see it there, but it's sort of on an uneven surface, and just wondered if there might be kind of better designs for the picnic tables. Next slide. And I think the two things that this park would benefit from most would be, again, a bike rack for kids to come use the park or families to come use the park, and then maybe a few more benches. There are a number of picnic tables, but there weren't benches as you're walking along the path in the park. I do remember a resident actually asking for that too. She enjoyed that other people were using the park, but she said she wanted to have a place a little bit further where she could, sit and read a book a little bit further from the playground. This is I think an easy maintenance piece. This is a recent picture of the tree here on the south side of the park. There are a number of trees that look like they have bark kind of ready to fall. I think it'd be good for us to go out and get those. And I believe we did not have doggy bags a year ago, so thank you for installing doggy bags at this park. Okay, and so here's another rare suggestion where I might be encouraging us to add a little bit of concrete to the park. So right now, Paula Reno Park has just one walkway connecting the north and south. And you can see these are not walkways here. These are sort of these are pieces of concrete that could connect a loop, but they're not. They're wide enough for one person to walk on, maybe a athletic kid to balance his bicycle on. And I thought this might be an opportunity actually to create a sidewalk looping through the park to give a loop for a kid on a bicycle or a loop for somebody to not just kind of go out and back the same way. And that's what I've described already. So quickly, let's make sure that there's not going to be any falling bark or branches from those trees. Bike racks, I probably have said for every park. Picnic benches, that looped walking path. And these were some suggestions from last year, looking for some more kind of interactive elements for the park. The musical instruments we heard about earlier, I think would be great. It is a community park. I had talked to someone about a community bulletin board or a little free library, just something else to add a little bit of interest and participation in the park. And it'd be great to, again, because that park is so small in that neighborhood, I think it's really their only option. Look at options to see if we could get Paula Reno schools, fields open to add a little bit more green space for people to use. I think this might be my last one. So Schiffer Park, another great park just over the hill from South Coast Plaza, Metro Point area. This is probably the most active of the parks that I see. We've got regular walkers from the neighborhood. You can go ahead and slide over. And it really comes to life after work. So got a big green open space where people come and play sports. We got a yoga group, people using the basketball courts, people using the handball courts. There's a couple playgrounds here. It's a really nice and well-used park. Next slide. With lots of amenities, so check marks all the way up and down. There's a good amount of parking, but parking is often full. I don't know if there are solutions for that, maybe adding bike racks again to encourage people to bike to the park. I will show a picture later where the parking lot does look a little bit worn, as do almost all of the amenities at the park. So other than bike racks, I thought this would be another good candidate for exercise equipment or more interactive equipment, because it is a park that's really well used now, kind of give people more something to do. And this one does have a volleyball court that I think is space that could be reclaimed. I will say, though, I have played volleyball on one of our sand volleyball courts at Tanager Park. Oh, you have? Okay. Several times. It was fun. Yeah. Okay, so bike rack. I in the picture on top here, I think those are bike racks. I'm not quite sure, but they're certainly not being used that way. This would be, I think, a really good candidate for it. And I mentioned exercise equipment. I did note there are people who were there's no perimeter path around the park, but there are people who kind of create their own walking pathway around the outside of the park. Okay, so I did mention this is a highly used park. A lot of the amenities do seem pretty warm. These are actually the pictures from a year ago, and I thought were still representative. If you compare that to what we see at Wimbledon Park, for example, this is, I think, not the Costa Mesa Park that we want to present to people who are in our city. If you go one more slide, these are updated pictures, still showing that we have some, I think, maintenance improvement opportunities. So in the upper left, we can see the parking lot is pretty worn. The asphalt is kind of crumbling, and there's some light potholes. The plaque actually at the is missing, so we see the rock surface there and some of the adhesive. I'm not sure what happened to the plaque, but we also have these little kind of seed droplings that look like they've been sitting there for a long time, and they were all over the concrete. So I don't think that much had fallen, overnight. I'd love to just poke our maintenance contractors a little bit and make sure that they're sweeping up those seed pods. The picture in the middle on the bottom is just to the right of the women's restroom, and there was quite a bit of water pooling in that area. I think that's something worth looking at. And inside the bathrooms, it's clean, but I just think an update would be nice. And again, putting lids on trash cans would be helpful. I think that is supposed to be our standard at the parks. So I would focus at Schiffer Park on updating some of the amenities in terms of additions, looking at adding bike racks, exercise equipment, and some other ideas people had posed was a public garden here and adding another little library since it is well used. And I guess I do have one more. Okay, Del Mesa. So this is sort of the sleeper park in my area. It's a pretty big park, 4 acres, nestled in a community. A great park, good amenities. I don't often see people there. Parking is easy. Next slide. So this has quite a few of the normal amenities that we look for. It does have a restroom, doesn't have bike racks. I think that's something that might have been a little pattern there. It doesn't have covered trash cans. I think that would just be nice, a nice upgrade. I think this is a good candidate. Oh, we need doggy bags at this park. I did see some people walking their dog. They were on leash. And this would be a good candidate for exercise equipment, possibly around the perimeter of the park, or again, some other kind of interactive element of the park in addition to the playgrounds. So some are here, adding doggy bags to kind of be consistent with the rest of our parks, and there are residents who are walking their dogs there, getting bike racks, updating the playground equipment. Bathrooms were similar. They were clean, but seemed pretty dated. And then I think this is a good park that has nice amenities for programming, like our outdoor yoga classes, for example, to try to introduce people to that park as well. Okay, so general things. I brought trash cans up a few times. I think at minimum, getting covered trash cans would just help upgrade the look of a park immediately. We have quite a few different types of trash cans in our parks. I don't think they necessarily have to be consistent, but they should at least be consistent in terms of the quality we have in the parks. Bathroom updates, again, where we do have bathrooms, they were generally clean, but felt pretty dated. And I thought signs and communication could be helpful in our park. So we've talked a little bit about this when we are doing a maintenance project, or we do have a scheduled maintenance project. We often are answering questions about those, where I think it would be really easy to have a posting, in a couple of months. We're planning to replace the playground equipment here. It should be done in the first quarter of 2019. Adding a little bit more of that direct communication. We have these signs that say, how to email your park district commissioner. It might be nice to have a little bit of signage about the My Costa Mesa app, right? If you see a maintenance issue, just send it straight to My Costa Mesa. Whenever I've done that, the staff have responded very quickly. That might save us all some time. And folks that I talked to at different parks actually seem pretty interested in the idea of more of these community bulletin boards. I know we're always or often on our phones, but somehow because everything comes on our phone, when we do see physical information, we tend to pay more attention. So that might be another way to recruit people to some of the recreational classes that we have, or fun, special events like what Commissioner Erickson was talking about. I think that might be it. Is that it? Okay. Yep. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to add one more thing. Of
course.
Sorry. Okay. And this is actually just something that I've been reading about a little bit in the past couple weeks, and we are here in the Senior Center. And there's sort of general understanding that our population is aging faster than we're growing. And so I've been thinking about some of the elements to age more healthfully. And I learned from I think he's a doctor here in Costa Mesa, that one of the most effective ways or effective sports that you can take part in as you age, in terms of kind of keeping you young, is tennis or ping pong. And he said it was the eye tracking that you do in terms of playing that sport. And so he actually suggested, these are doctors' suggestions, that a ping pong, if you can't put a tennis court in a park, putting even a ping pong table in a park are ways to encourage some people to play that sport. And those are things that contribute to public health. So the pickleballs, the ping pongs, the badminton, those might be some ideas to add to the parks, or maybe replacing some of the volleyball courts. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Chair McNabb?
Yes, Commissioner Bogner.
I forgot to add something to my presentation. It was in regards to signage, and I had an idea if you were going to do something about signage, to perhaps maybe put a QR code on the signs to so it could go directly to the My Costa Mesa app, because I know before it was whatever it was called before, I can't even remember, but I could go straight to the app, as well as like Vice Chair Reynolds suggested, having it directly to stating the app rather than emailing us, because I just think that would be a good idea. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I just am going to mention, because it's been a topic, I live very near Tanager Park, and that volleyball court gets used, I think, a lot. So, I mean, there are probably opportunities to replace other volleyball courts, but I don't think that people would appreciate us replacing Tanager. So my 2 cents on that. And at this time, I will do Park District 5 presentation on behalf of Commissioner Ursulou. And we will start out, there are Canyon Parks, Fairview Park, Lions Park, Marina View, Shalimar, and Vista Park within District 5. These give the specifics and size of each park. And obviously, eye-popping is our fabulous Fairview Park at 210 acres. So we don't need to go, I don't think, through this particular slide in every detail. Lions Park is at 570 West 18th Street. We are very much looking forward to the new library and park project. This spring, there will be an addition of an acre of park space at that time, plus our 22,000 square foot library, estimated cost of $36 million. And the total project completion is February 2020, but we will be opening the library in spring of 2019. Here's the rendering of the completion. This project remains on schedule and on budget. To date, the construction milestones have been met. The estimated completion of Phase 1 remains spring of 2019. Community outreach for the updated Lions Park playground area will begin in the first quarter of 2019. The approval of the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment for Phase 1 was scheduled for September 4th, 2018 Council agenda. The approval of the audiovisual and IT equipment is scheduled for a November City Council meeting. Shalimar Park is found at 782 Shalimar Drive. Next slide, please. The playing equipment is in great condition. The children have a lot of fun at this park. It looks very good. Next slide. Back area still needs attention, not yet functioning at its highest, best use of space. Ideas here for next steps are to promote widely when there is an opportunity for community engagement in 2019 for the design upgrades, and contact the UCI Urban Planning PhD students who are interested in helping draft design options for the community's consideration. Leah did go out to the park and got resident feedback. She chatted with group of teens who would like to see some sort of mini skate park type amenities. Also spoke with the mothers who were sitting on the benches waiting for their kids to get out of the Think Together Shalimar Learning Center that mentioned that they would appreciate some outdoor exercise equipment for the adults. Here we go, Fairview Park at 2525 Placentia. There's darling Sabia. We need to address some broken fencing in a section. We can contact Commissioner Ursulou specifically for that location. Next slide. The Vernal Pool restoration efforts ramping up in the first quarter of 2018 for Vernal Pools 5, 6, and 7. 2019 Fairview Park Educational Series. All About the Vernal Pools of Fairview Park is January 12th. The World Wetland Day Tour and Audubon Birdwalk is February 2nd. And the Celebrate World Wildlife Day is at Fairview Park on March 3rd. Detailed information can be found in the Winter Recreation Guide. Additional Fairview Park information. Cynthia DeGosta is the Fairview Park Administrator. The steering committee is convening bi-monthly, and the Fairview Park Steering Committee liaisons are Commissioner Reynolds and myself, Liz McNabb. Canyon Park is at 970 Arbor Street. Best of both worlds, expansive park with nature trails and preserve, large grass playing area, and playground. Here's some very charming photos of Canyon Park. I love Canyon Park. It's so tucked away and quiet and peaceful and large. It's just a wonderful space for us in Costa Mesa. Cool trails connecting. Next slide. Vista Park, connecting to Vista Park at 1200 Victoria Street. Playground equipment, grass area, and picnic areas are all in great condition. Lots of cute squirrels. Squirrel with a nut. Marina View Park at 1035 West 19th Street. Of note, large grass area where multiple people brought dogs to run off leash. Playground equipment and picnic tables well maintained. Next slide. Thank you. Is that it? Oh, wonderful. Great. Well, concludes our park reports, and until next year, we are done with that. Thank you for all your work and suggestions. I think that those were very thorough and well done, and now we will move on.
Item 12, Parks and Community Services Director's Report.
All right, thank you again, Chair McNabb, members of the Commission. The city's fall session of recreation and community services activities and programs are now entering their last few weeks of programming as we move towards the year end. With this, registration for the upcoming winter session began earlier this week for residents and will begin next Monday for non-residents. As you likely have noticed, the Winter Recreation Guide was delivered to residents and our city facilities several weeks ago and features hundreds of offerings for participants of all ages. Of special note are sign-ups for Winter and President's Week Camp, which are going on now. The School Year Rocks program is quickly approaching 1,000 registered participants and is right in line with registration numbers as compared to this time last year. Our Youth Sports and Fitness program wrapped up its free co-ed recreational youth volleyball program, which was indoors, 2 weeks ago at the Downtown Recreation Center. And this fall session was the first for the program to be indoors and proved to be successful based upon participant feedback. We did, just so that the Commission is aware, hold an outdoor volleyball program in the spring. It was probably before you joined the Commission. This past spring was the first season that we've done that, so I believe we're looking to do that again next spring to utilize the different outdoor elements. Our mobile recreation program has been busy in neighborhoods and at special events during the fall season. Recent locations have included Lindbergh Park, Jordan Park, Heller Park, Lions Park, and the Fillmore neighborhood. The program recently had a special Thanksgiving giveaway event that drew more than 65 participants and their families and was sponsored by local real estate agent Julie Mansfield. Active participants were involved in a raffle that awarded 8 lucky families with $25 gift cards to Albertsons, as well as one lucky winner who went home with a full turkey dinner and a $30 gift card. With the cooler temperatures of the season, we offer slightly less programming at the Aquatic Center. We do, however, continue to see strong participation in our lap swim and swim lesson programs. And during the season, staff also increases their safety training in and out of the water with less participants on site. The city's teen program has remained busy with average attendance at each center in the mid-20s. To celebrate Halloween, a special themed teens-only event took place last month that had attendance of 30 teens participating. The event focus was to provide a safe, themed social event that featured a haunted maze, pumpkin carving, and an outdoor Halloween movie. Our city animal care services staff, along with our animal shelter and adoption service providers, saw nearly 100 animals come through our city animal system during the months of October, with 44 animals being adopted, 11 being directly reunited with their owners. The annual Barktober event was also a hit with the local animal-loving community and drew a crowd of 300 participants throughout the afternoon at the Bark Park, which included a costume contest, vendors, giveaways, and animal adoptions. One additional item to mention related to animals is that the Animal Care Services team participated in the Newport Rib 20 Days of Giving charity event. The group was fortunate enough to receive donations in the amount of $1,926, which came directly from a portion of diners contributing 20% of their bill towards the Costa Mesa Animal Shelters. We were the second highest recipient of donated dollars, so we're very happy with that, being that this was our first year involved in the giveaway. I want to thank the Ursini family, as well as everyone at Newport Rib for including us in that. The fall season of youth and adult sports is wrapping up, and most fields will go into rest and renovation in the coming weeks. Our annual field allocation meeting for the spring season is scheduled to take place in the coming week as well on December 6th. To highlight adventure sports, the city, in coordination with Shreducate Academy and the Attic Board Shop, hosted a free Halloween skateboarding competition that saw 50 participants and more than 100 attendees as spectators. Based upon the outcome of this event, we're discussing plans to host a similar event in the spring, again with Shreducate, to help promote skateboarding within the community. As the Commission will not be meeting in December, I want to make sure that I mention that the annual Snoopy House event is scheduled to take place at City Hall beginning on December 14th, and that the annual Snow Day event hosted by Torelli Realty is set to take place at Blair Community Center on December 15th, beginning at 9 a.m. Department staff will be on site for both of these events to add to the atmosphere and assist with programming activities for youth and families. One last event update is a reminder about the January 12th Estancia Adobe Plaque dedication and ceremony at Estancia Park. Staff are currently working with the city's Historical Preservation Committee to put the finishing touches on the reception-style event. And finally, as this is Vice Chair Reynolds' last meeting, I'd like to just thank her for her service to the city and to the Commission and to the residents. It's certainly been a pleasure working with you, watching you grow with the rest of the Commission as everyone started new at the same time. I want to thank you for your commitment to appreciating the public, appreciating staff, and the kindness that you've showed towards everyone's willingness to work hard and to make changes. So I really want to let you know that I appreciate that. I wish you the best of luck on the City Council. I'll still be working very closely with you. So with that, I conclude my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Erickson.
Thanks for the report. I'd be more than happy to do it myself and just simply go to the open gym volleyball events and do an informal survey. Because I think we're kind of onto a hidden gem maybe with some of these sand volleyball courts. To address your concerns over parking, my whole vision was that it would be a cross-town rivalry kind of thing. All the neighbors from Wilson would get together and play, and the winning team would play the team from the other park, and it could be something that's really fun. So I would follow up with you separately and be more than happy to just kind of ramble in there and see if these open gym volleyball players know that we have sand volleyball courts. And otherwise, thanks for the report.
I did want to add one other thing before additional questions, if there are any. We're in the process now where we're beginning the budget process for the upcoming fiscal year, and each year around this time we submit inquiries for building modifications as well as for capital improvement projects to facilities or parks. And some of the things that the department is considering are some of the things that you did mention during some of your park reports. For example, the defunct basketball court at Tanager Park. We are thinking, we know that pickleball may not be the best thing there because of noise in close proximity. However, we are considering the bike course there and potentially even at the Blair Community Center. We're potentially looking to include additional garden parcels at Geisler Park as part of an upgrade there. We're looking at adding exercise equipment along Victoria Avenue to help increase park acreage in space that we already own. So we are looking into some of those things. We're still working with the school district, obviously, on the lighting projects. So there are a lot of things kind of in the queue that we wanted to make sure that you become aware of as we start to make our requests through our budget process this year.
Chairman Knapp?
Yes.
So I just wanted to make one comment. I'll save you from questions, and that was just to acknowledge the mobile recreation program. It's what is that, a couple years old now. Only heard positive things about it, and I have see the note here where it was at the Scarecrow Festival, and I just want to acknowledge they saved the day. The lines at the Scarecrow Festival were really long. I think on the first morning, and kids started climbing on the fences around the vernal pools, and I was like, how do I get these kids off the fences? And I went over and was shaking my finger, and then I saw the mobile rec van, and I said, there's got to be stuff in there. So we actually pulled out a lot of the games from the mobile rec van and put them along the line for the kids who were waiting for the trains, and they were immediately throwing bean bags and other fun stuff. So the mobile rec van saved the day at the Scarecrow Festival. Hadn't thought of this before. I don't know if it's an opportunity, but it might be fun to see the mobile rec van over at the OCME Public Run Days if there was interest in trying to make that a little bit more of a city event. It was certainly a nice partnership that day that we hadn't realized would happen. But also wanted to thank all of you especially for answering all of my questions, sometimes with very little turnaround. I'm always will kind of pick out the things I need to be improved, but do want to acknowledge that we, in Costa Mesa, what do we have, 30 parks, really, really nice variety of parks, and nice parkways. Look forward to continuing to improve. Look forward to working with everyone here to continue to activate the community and activate our parks. But enjoyed working with all of you and those who aren't here as well. And as I said, we'll continue working together again.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, then, at this time, I will wish everyone a very happy holiday season. We will adjourn our meeting until 2019. The next scheduled meeting for the Costa Mesa Parks and Recreation Commission is Thursday, January 24th. Thank you so much, and have a good evening. Okay, everybody, hats on before they turn us off. All right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, happy holidays. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays. Thank you. Okay. And cup. Okay. Very good. All right. That's one of our